This Daytona 500 mega betting picks edition of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with our promo code RACESGPN to get a 50% deposit bonus up to $1,000. We're also brought to you by Edge Boost. Earn up to $750 per month on your sports gambling transactions. Go to edgeboost.bet, promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm, the leader in data-driven picks and props. Get your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHM.
Driver, start your engine!
Strap in and pull those belts up tight as the Sports Gambling Podcast Network presents the NASCAR Gambling Podcast.
I'm just gonna put my foot on the floor and I'm not lifting till I see God or a checkered flag.
My man.
With all the news and the best bets for your NASCAR weekend.
We want to thank you tonight for these mighty machines that you brought before us. Thank you for the Dodges and the Toyotas. Thank you for the Fords. Lord, I want to thank you for my smoking hot wife tonight, Lisa. In Jesus' name, boogity, boogity, boogity.
Now, here are your hosts, Rod Villagomez and Cody Zeeb.
The time for waiting is over. We have suffered through a long, cold, and in some cases, very, very uncomfortable winter, and we are here. It is time for the Daytona 500. Welcome to the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. He is Cody Zeeb. I am Rod Villagomez. You may have noticed there's a couple of new things going on in the neighborhood, but don't let it scare you. We're still the same old show. Really just embracing the new season and our fourth season, Cody, of this show. Holy cow. First and foremost, cheers to the fourth season of the show.
Cheers to that, Rod. Let's go. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Daytona 500. Welcome in, everybody, to the show. If you're a new listener, this is usually when a lot of people find the show, discover the show. If you've just found us and checked us out, welcome in. If you're an OG listener from 570 some episodes ago, welcome in. Wherever you joined us, we appreciate it. And I'm pumped. Great job on the new intro, Rod. If you're listening to this on the podcast version, go over to our YouTube at NASCAR Gambling Podcast. Check it out. Rod put a lot of work into that and absolutely just killed it. Even better than I thought it would be. I know some of you have been waiting for that clip. Just gonna put it to the floor and send it. And there it is. We've been waiting to debut it. So absolutely love it, man. I'm so pumped, Rod. We finally made it through the entire off season. I don't think I could make it if NASCAR off seasons were any longer. I'm glad that it's one of the shortest in sports because I'm ready to make some picks and get to betting on NASCAR again.
Well, and as this episode clearly states in the title, this is a mega episode. So for those of you who are brand new listeners, first and foremost, just like Cody said, welcome into the family. Welcome home. We are so happy to have you. But this will be a pack. I mean, it's 4 episodes, right? We got to do it big. We brought out the new intro. We're bringing out the new thumbnail for this one. Like, so much stuff going on. So we're just upgrading a little bit. And so to do that, we're just going to have so much fun tonight, giving you a ton of bets. I had to shrink the font in the doc to fit all of Cody's bets in. So I hope you've got yourself a nice beverage.
Rod, let me make the document bigger to put extra bets in there just for you guys. We've got extra time blocked out. We're going to be interacting with the chat all evening. I'm so excited. Rod, what are you drinking over there, Rod? I have a nice ice cold Miller Lite. There's no better way to celebrate America, celebrate the great American race.
I mean, you're right, first and foremost, but I've got myself a nice little California haze going because what doesn't say welcome to the East Coast than a good West Coast beer? So, I like that too. All right, let's check in with the chat real quick. But first, let me tell you, I want to tell you about football is over, right? But we are here. We are back, baby. If you go over right now, we're going to talk about all these contests as we continue to go down. But if you head over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Daytona, you can sign up today for our free Daytona 500 contest, and you can enter to win a $100 in cold hard cash and a $100 SGPN gift card plus random bonus prizes. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Daytona to enter Now checking in with the chat, Justin saying, Cody, I was serious. If Briscoe wins a championship, you should have to wear a Briscoe shirt on the recap show. What is it with people? Look, at least he's not telling you to get a tattoo, because that was voted ground for me too.
Yeah, that was maybe across the line a little bit, but yeah, boy, the Briscoe love, it's running deep for a lot of people, just not really us, Rod. I'll consider that. Maybe he does shock and we end up there. Boji Joe, Rod, he's starting out the season. I will not bet the Daytona 500. I will not bet the Daytona 500. I will not. He gave up. He's betting the Daytona 500. Welcome in, Boji Joe. The NASCAR Gambling Podcast checking in. Oh, wait, that was me.
Wait, that's you.
Keith checking in. Let's get them picks. We got a lot of picks for you today. TK enjoyed the new intro. I know he's been waiting. He was the one most specifically waiting for that new clip.
Yep.
Morning News Music checking in. Rod and Chase Briscoe's biggest hater have returned for a brand new season. May Bass Pro Shops have mercy on you. The chat is they're gonna come after us hard if Briscoe has a good season, Rod. Jessica checking in. Good evening, guys. Good evening, Jessica. JDK checking in from across the border. Do we have to put a tariff on him to listen to the show? Oh, wait, sorry. JDK, hello. Great intro. Ross checking in. NASCAR is back.
Yes, it is,
John likes your shirt, Rod. What about my shirt?
That, my friend, if you are not watching on YouTube, Race Officials or Terrorists, you can find that in the merch store. But yeah, John, I had to get a little bit. Look at this is like a first date, right? I got to present a good face, and then once you get into the door, then it's the hoodies again. So for those of you watching on YouTube, for those of you who listen on this traditional podcast, you have no clue what I wear, and you probably should never.
You probably should check out the YouTube just to see what Rod does wear, because he's been the Brawny Man before, Steve from Blue's Clues. It's like Halloween every day for Rod on this show. Brian checking in. What's up, gents? Excited for the season. Better see you in Vegas or Phoenix, Rod.
I may go to Vegas. That's for sure.
There we go. I like it. Laura checking in. Says howdy all. Laura, by the way, made guacamole, I'm assuming just to watch the show. So shout out to her for that.
My queso's gone, so that's the sad part of that whole thing. But
Ross wants underdog pick for Daytona. Ross.
Oh, well, you'll get there.
Oh, strap in, pal. We have got you covered. Plenty of underdog picks coming up. Myron checking in. Let's get this money. Even willing to make some qualifying bets tomorrow. Yeah.
Okay. That's you guys are gonna have a life of your own.
Champ Briscoe, they're calling him. Here
Champ Briscoe. All right. We definitely have that. All right. Keep that going all night long. To those of you who are joining us in the chat for the first time, what's up, everybody? Welcome in. We're going to have a fun time with you today, breaking down this Daytona 500. That pesky little game that they had to get out of the way in order to get there is over. Thank God. Man, that was horrible. The only good part about it was that I didn't have to pay much attention because I was too busy chasing after people for bingo and for squares. So, I
thought it was a great game, Rod. Hopefully you tuned in last week when we did the crossover episode, because I went 4 for 4, Rod. I didn't do so good at the Clash, we're gonna throw that out. But if you're riding those crossover bets that I gave last week that were Daytona 500 props mixed with Super Bowl props, 4 for 4. So hopefully some of those will cash for you this weekend.
That would be a fantastic gift for you, for future you after Sunday. So, all right, speaking of Daytona 500, of course, we are entering Speedweeks for Daytona 500, which means today they had the press day, all the guys getting there, taking their pictures and getting their interviews and getting set and ready. And then tomorrow, cars on the track as we start to enter the duels.
We have cars, cars on the track tomorrow, Rod. Wednesday, if you're listening to this later, maybe it's today, right? Wednesday, cars on the track. Then Thursday, cars on the track. Friday, we have a race. Saturday, we have a race. Sunday, we have a race. We are full on in it. And if you're new to the show, or even if you're not new to the show, if you don't know, we also cover the Truck and Xfinity series. We'll have an episode on those in the next day or two, along with Underdog, DraftKings, fantasy stuff. We cover all that, 3 shows a week. And we're always live on YouTube if you want to jump in and be part of the chat. We're going to be live every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, covering all of those things every week for the entire season, and we always stay here through the off season too. So if you've been sticking with us, great. And if you got time between now and Sunday, go back and listen to some of the futures episodes and get those bets in too.
Yeah, I don't know that too many of them changed. I haven't paid attention to the futures.
Always a little movement here and there, but I would say probably for the most part, a lot of it's still there.
Yeah, indeed, man. Ross, so many people picking Bell to win everything this year. So I'm hoping.
He's pretty good at them short flats, Rod.
Yeah,
Donald checking in. Cave, you made it live for once. Let's go.
Donald.
David checking in. He wants thoughts on Allgaier to make the big race. So I will. This is a nice plug. We have a Discord channel. If you don't know what Discord is, it's basically a big community where you can come and chat with your closest friends about whatever. So if you go to sg.pn/Discord, just type that into your browser. It'll take you over to the Discord for the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Million channels in there. NFL, NBA, MLB, non-sports channels, whatever you want to get into. We've got a NASCAR channel, F1, IndyCar. It's all over there. But, Rod, Justin Allgaier was 50-1 to sit on the pole for the Daytona 500. We put that in the Discord. We talked about it a little bit in the offseason. He's 10-1 now. So hopefully you got in on that early because, yeah, I do think that's essentially a fifth Hendrick car, which we'll probably talk about here more in a bit. But I would imagine they're going to do everything they can to make sure that car is in on time and they don't have to worry about racing it in through the duels.
Yeah, thank God for that. I'm telling you right now, this is going to be fun to watch. And I don't, man, I was going to check the weather beforehand because I saw a tweet.
Weather, Rod.
Okay, I won't check the weather.
It looked good before, but now some of that we don't say the R word on this program.
Yeah, no,
but some of that
all battening down the hatches for stuff. So I was just trying to make sure that this was happening again. And I did see the tweet that this is all rigged, right? Where Denny Hamlin's going to win a range-shortened Daytona 500 in 2025. So.
Is that the script? Well, I guess there's your bet to make then. If it's not like Terrell Owens says and the commissioner gets a hold of it, throws the script out and changes everything, because maybe that'll happen and it'll be somebody else in victory lane.
Well, maybe the race officials will have lost it or burned it the night before, and we'll see how that goes. But so there are actually, so if you go and check your books, check your favorite books, there are bets out there for the duels. We will not be giving you out any of them because obviously time permitting, it's not. If you listen to it on Wednesday, you could get it, but I don't want people listen on Thursday go, well, I missed out on that one. So we're just giving you race proper and some qualifying stuff if there is any. But
I will say, just to toss it out there, and you can look on your own basically. But if you're interested in qualifying bets, Hendrick Motorsports is extremely good at qualifying in the Daytona 500, specifically over anywhere else. So if there's any Hendrick cars 10-1 or more, which I think there is a couple of them, I would maybe just sprinkle on those guys. Austin Dillon, a little bit of a sneaky one at like 35-1. So there's your qualifying bets segment of the show, Rod.
Yeah, and for me, it's just that the Hendrick is pretty much where it stops, and then after that, you just sort of spitball them like you are with any other thing, because as we know on super speedways, anything goes and anything will go. So yeah, we just gotta prep for a massive weekend of racing and a lot of fun racing. So I tell you what, we should probably get some stuff out of the way, and then we can come back and start talking about the race and how to get involved. And before we start setting up the bets, but before we do, I want to tell you about Edge Boost. SGPN has partnered up with Edge Boost, the premier Visa debit card for bettors. An Edge Boost card allows you to avoid the hassle of having your card denied at the sportsbook, DFS site, sweepstakes site, racetrack, or casino. And let me tell you firsthand, that is the most frustrating thing in the entire world. It's your money. You should spend it how you want. Edge Boost gives you exactly that freedom to do it. Plus, you can earn up to $750 per month in cashback rewards for using your Edge Boost card. And your money is safe. The card is FDIC insured. And the best part, no credit check. Thank God nobody's checking my credit anymore. And it's completely free. Sign up today. Use the promo code SGPN so you can get better cashback rewards. And of course, as always, we pull back the velvet rope for you and let you straight into tier 2. Don't mess around with those tier 3 folks or those tier 4 folks. No. Tier 2 for you. You get tier 2 status. Definitely going to use my Edge Boost reward on pretty much all of the bets that we're about to lay out for the Daytona 500. That's edgeboost.bet, promo code SGPN. That's edgeboost.bet, promo code SGPN. Let me tell you about MyBookie. We're brought to you by MyBookie.ag. MyBookie is your place to place every bet in every sport, plus props for every game and the live dealer casino. Love me some live dealer casinos. MyBookie accepts customers from a ton of locations, easy deposit, lightning fast payout using crypto. Head to mybookie.ag, promo code SGPN to get a 100% deposit match up to $1,000 plus a $10 casino chip. That's mybookie.ag, promo code SGPN. Daytona International Speedway, Daytona Beach, Florida, where it all began, where it'll all return on Sunday. I know that I get to finally, my uncle is taking the day. He loves NASCAR, and he's been a big NASCAR fan for a while, taking the day off to come down and actually watch the race for the first time in a long time that we've been able to enjoy Daytona. So we're making it a real family affair over here.
Love it. I am going, Rod, to my first Daytona 500 watch party.
Ooh.
I've always, I'm kind of a homebody. I just usually watch here in my house where I can focus on things. But yeah, me and our buddy James Rowland, we're going to jump in the car and drive across the river, Rod, where they got that legal gambling. And I might be placing some live bets on the race. Probably a good chance of that. It's a good thing I got my Edge Boost card already. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Beautiful stuff. Homer saying qualifying bets are when you know you're in way too deep or not deep.
No
enough.
such thing as too deep.
All right. So as we said before, it is the Daytona 500. We are very excited to welcome the season in. And so obviously if you're not really familiar with the format of this, and if you're just stumbling on it because you're like, oh, Super Bowl's over, I need to know what to bet on. It's NASCAR, it's Daytona. This sounds like fun. Cody, there's a long way to get to the actual race on Sunday, and it begins tomorrow with the qualifying races.
Yeah, it does. And so the way that qualifying works for this is unlike any other race, Rod, really is I guess just the best way to put it. So it's really got its own thing. So here's how they're going to set the field. 36 drivers that are chartered cars already. Those guys are all already locked into the race. They're going to start the Daytona 500. There are 40 spots available for this race, Rod. Asterisk, maybe 41, which I'll explain in a minute, but 40 spots available. So there's 9 open cars, which we'll talk about here in just a minute who those are. So there's 9 open cars for 4 spots, right? So those 4 guys have to get in. So they're going to have traditional qualifying on Wednesday evening. That'll be, they go out, they run 1 lap. Now they're not doing the 2-round thing at most tracks this season, but they are doing it at Super Speedway. So it will be the second round where it's down to the final 10 cars and they run again. If you qualify first place or second place in traditional qualifying, you've locked in your spot on the front row of the Daytona 500. You will start first and second no matter what, right? So that's really why some teams like Hendrick focus so much on qualifying, because they want that front row starting spot. Even though, Rod, as we know at Super Speedways, Daytona specifically, where you start doesn't matter when it comes to betting, but we'll talk about that more later. So if you get on those, you lock yourself in, and then 3rd, 5th, 7th, all the odd number cars are going to race in a duel 1. All the even number cars will race in duel 2 on Thursday. Where you finish in those duels, so the winner of duel 1 will start 3rd, 5th, second place will start 5th, 3rd place will start 7th, so on and so forth. The second duel sets the outside row, 2nd, 4th, 6th, 8th, so on and so forth. For the open cars, 2 cars will lock their way in. 2 of the 4 cars that can lock in will lock their way in on Wednesday with the fastest time. So if you come out, you can be one of the faster 2 cars of the 9. You can lock yourself in. Then in the dual racing, if they end up, it's then essentially the top 2 finishing open cars that haven't already locked in on speed. So if you're one of the fastest on speed, you also are then one of the better ones in the duel. They'll take your dual finishing position, give the speed to the 3rd place car. It's a long, involved process, but that's basically how it's all going to work. The one asterisk here, Rod, is there's 40 cars for sure going to start the race. Elio Castroneves is one of the Indy 500 champion. He's 5-time Indy 500 champion, legend of the sport. He's got the open exemption provisional that NASCAR just started this year. If he does not qualify in based on speed or through the duels, then he will get a provisional, and he'll be the 41st car in the grid. So instead of starting 40, we'll start 41. He will not be eligible for prize money or points, which he's not racing for anyways. But so that's the one potential where we could have 41 cars. But of the open, quote unquote, 9 cars, Elio's locked into the race no matter what.
Yeah, and so for all of that too, we talk about qualifying efforts and trying to qualify your best, and really the only one that really matters the most is the pole, but that's just because of the prestigious nature of being on the pole at Daytona for the first race of the year. After that, doesn't matter. Like, you can win from dead last, you can win from the middle of the pack, you can lose from first. Like the if you're new to super speedway racing, or if you're new to Daytona, then this just doesn't really matter. This is one where you could spot the Chiefs a 30-point deficit and they can still come back and win. Unlike what
too soon,
Sunday.
Rod. Too soon.
I'm sorry, guys, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of moving parts to go along with it. But unlike most racetracks, we won't take starting position into account. We won't warn you that, hey, if this guy starts in the middle of the pack, we might want to back off. No, this is straight up. Doesn't matter. All these guys that we're going to give you today have more than a shot to do exactly what we think they're going to do, and then some, because of the unpredictable nature of the super speedway racing.
Yeah, exactly. So to get to the, first of all, I want to address the chat. I don't know if John is stalking me or what, but he says that Cody's headed over to Council Bluffs to the Quaker Steak and Lube. You're actually right, John. That is exactly where I'm going for a big Daytona 500 party. Shout out to my friends over at the Front Stretch podcast, because they're the ones hosting that. But yeah, so if you live in the Nebraska, Iowa area and you want to come over to Council Bluffs Quaker Steak and Lube, I'll be there on Sunday to watch the race, Rob.
You need a shirt that says that with the NASCAR Gambling Podcast logo.
What shirt do you think I'm wearing? This one, right?
Well, yeah, but now we need the logo. Okay, tell you what, Cody, you secure us the advertising deal for Quaker Steak and Lube. We'll figure out a way to advertise them on this one, because that sounds fun. But yes, and then you make it all the way to the race, set for 200 laps around this 2.5 mile paved track for 500 of the tightest racing, of the most exciting passing that you'll see all season long. Yeah, I mean, this is I know that we run here twice every season, but something about the Daytona 500 just makes that fall race seem like
there are drivers, Rod, Denny Hamlin, probably because he has 3 of one and none of the other, that will tell you that winning the Daytona 500 is more important to them than winning the championship. I think that's a crock of shit. I think that winning championship is better, but winning the Daytona 500 will literally change your life. Would you know who Trevor Bayne is if he was not a Daytona 500 champion? Probably not. He didn't do a whole lot in his career. He won the Daytona 500. Everywhere he goes, any room he walks into, that's Daytona 500 champion Trevor Bayne. And that goes for all these guys. And the great thing about this race, and one of the fun things for betting on it, is literally anybody can win. And we're going to get pretty far down in there, Rod, and talk about that in a bit. Would you like to, Rod, cover the 9 open cars in this race?
I would, but I first would like to acknowledge my brothers in the room and say, as a Chiefs fan, yes, he says, too soon, Cody, too soon indeed, Rod. Next time I see you, take the knife out of my back.
I told you all last week it was going to be the Eagles. You should have listened, and hopefully you did.
Yeah, that's all right. All right, so 9 open drivers, Cody. I know one is my favorite. You'll get to him in a second. But
one is also my favorite, Rod. If you noticed on the little intro, Rod chose my pick. I sent Rod a picture of me with multiple drivers. And, of course, he chose the one with my guy, Corey LaJoy, stacking pennies in the number 01 car. He'll be attempting to make this race. That's essentially the Rick Ware 15 car. It is the 01 car for this race, and any of them that LaJoy starts. So he'll be entering that one. Justin Allgaier is going to be in the 40 car. This is the first entry by Junior Motorsports, a.k.a. Dale Earnhardt Jr. This is 100% a Hendrick Motorsports car that is labeled as a JRM car because Hendrick can't enter a 5th car. So it's going to be prepared. Everything is done at Hendrick. Junior's name is just on the door because that's how they have to do it. JJ Yaley is going to be in the 44 car. That's the most laughable car in the field, but Rod almost made the race last year by beating 7-time champion Jimmy Johnson. Luckily for everybody, Johnson was able to beat him in like the last lap, but 44 car, it's got a shot, and if he makes it in, anything can happen. 2017 champion Martin Truex Jr. is going to be making a start in the 56 car. This is a Tricon Garage entry. They, of course, are a Truck Series team. If you don't follow closely and didn't know that, they're a Truck Series team. This also is a Joe Gibbs racing car, fully prepared and brought to you by Joe Gibbs, and entered with the Tricon name on it because they can't have another car in the field either. The 62 car, notorious for starting in super speedway races, Anthony Alfredo, Fast Pasta. We're going to talk about him in a little bit, Rod. He is entered in this one as well. Chandler Smith, our guy, is going to be in the 66 Garage 66 entry, formerly MBM Motorsports, same team. BJ McLeod is back in the 78. 7-time the greatest driver of all time, Jimmy Johnson, is going to be back in the 84 car. By the way, I don't know if you've seen all the stuff with Shaq and him on social. That's been great. The Orlando Magic looking paint scheme they've got on that is wonderful. So he's going to attempt the race. And then Elio Castroneves in the 91 car. He is in a Trackhouse car. And again, he's locked in despite being an open car. He'll either race his way in as one of the 40, or he'll get that provisional and be the 41st entry. Nobody else is eligible for that provisional because of the way that NASCAR did this, which that's another conversation that we've had before and probably have again, but not for today. So it's only 41 cars if Elio uses the provisional. Otherwise, it'll be 40 cars, which is confusing in and of itself, but nonetheless, that's how it goes.
I want a provisional so that I can just go out there and lay an egg and then just do whatever I want to do after that. If I know I'm going to be in it, regardless of what I do on the track, it's like, I don't care. Then I'm just going to use the provisional and I'll be the 41st car. You know what? In fact, why don't you do that, Elio? Why don't you use the provisional? That way we get one more car on the track. So go out there
and that's, so that's, I guess, sort of it depends how you look at it, right? You want to earn your way in, and Darren was talking about how it's not real if you take a provisional, even though he takes them all the time, whatever. But which I thought was sort of funny because he uses promoters provisionals a lot in late model racing, which he should, because that's where everybody's there to watch him race. So I get it. But yeah, obviously, he's not going to be racing for the money, which you want the purse money, even though in the grand scheme of things, money doesn't mean a lot to a lot of these guys, right? But it's still a lot of money. So he could win the Daytona 500 and get no prize money if he is the 41st car. So I get, and you're also eliminating another competitor in the field for Chastain and SVG and Suarez, their other 3 cars. So he's going to probably try to attempt to make it. But I know Denny Hamlin was talking about on his podcast that if he, may not really try that hard in the duels and sort of pull up, because why destroy the car? You're already guaranteed in the race. And you'll see that from the guys who start first in each duel, because they're guaranteed to start on the front row of the Daytona 500. Don't fuck those cars up, because if you do, you're going to start at the back and you want to start on the front. So those guys will likely pull out of the pack within a couple of laps and, just hang out back and stay out of trouble.
Yeah, you feel that energy shift, and you don't want to be in the middle of that.
I think that we're in for the best duels we've had in a long time, Rod, because there are going to be, what is it? Probably 6 or 7 drivers that are trying to race their way into this thing. And it's going to make these dual races interesting, because those guys are going to have to pull their punches if you want to get into the greatest, the Great American Race. And for those guys, the money means a lot. And making this race for a Corey LaJoie or a Chandler Smith or any of these guys, just starting in the race and the money that they'll make from that could help them get future starts down the road where they're not full-time in the Cup Series. And help them out a ton and their partners and all that stuff. So it means a lot to all these open guys. They're going to be racing very for it.
Well, and it'll put a lot of money into those race teams, which will help them kind of bring it back and maybe improve some equipment. But more than that, too, you talk about these drivers that are trying to make it. A lot of them are driving cars prepared by some of the biggest teams out there. So they're not driving around clunkers. These are going to be prepared cars by the big guys out there running around trying to make this race. So in a sense, you're seeing the high power equipment trying to make the race. So the field it's even level that much more. So so much to look forward to, so much to have fun with. Cody, I feel like
I got one more thing on the checklist, Rod. Then we can get to the picks real fast. If you're interested in free contests, free fantasy leagues, all this fun stuff, we got 3 things going on. You mentioned at the top of the show, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Daytona, free to enter Daytona 500 contest. The winner, all you have to do, you go in, you select who you think is going to, just write in who you think is going to win the Daytona 500. That's it. Subscribe to the YouTube and send a picture that you are. That's all you have to do. And you're entered. If you select the winner, we'll break the tie next week on the show, or we might do a YouTube even this weekend and break the tie for the winner. But the winner of it all gets $100 cold hard cash plus $100 to the merch store. You can get the Race Officials or Terrorist shirt. NASCAR Gambling Podcast stuff is all over there. So make sure you get entered into that. We also have our official fantasy league, Rod. That is open. And if you go to at NASCAR Gambling on X or NASCAR Gambling Podcast on Facebook, I have these pinned at the top on both of those. So it's a one thread. All three of these things are in there, nice and easy to get. But we're doing prizes for first, second, third, and fourth in the free NASCAR Fantasy League. And that's just NASCAR Fantasy Live. We've got our own league over there. You can get entered into that. And then, Rod, the one and done pool, which is, there's 36 races. You can only pick a driver once throughout the entire season. That is $13 to enter that one. Prizes will be determined based on how many people enter, obviously, but we'll get all that out once we lock down the entries. You can enter that up to the Daytona 500. That's also pinned over there if you want to join that one and get in. And we have 2 episodes, if you go back a couple of weeks, where we went through and gave all of our picks preseason, but you can make your selections right up till green flag time each race. So a lot of fun for all 3 of those. But make sure you go get entered over there.
And the best part of everything about this whole network, it's all free. Man, Sean and Ryan really hit the nail on the head with all of the free entries that we give these guys, and just a lot of fun to be had without a whole lot of taking out of your pocket to place the bets that we're about to give you. So we'd rather make you money the old-fashioned way than try to make you earn it back from something you've given us. So, yep, definitely. All right. It's time to get to the picks. The reason that you've all come to this show, but then, of course, let me tell you first about Underdog Fantasy, NBA, NHL, college basketball, whatever sport you can cash in big with Underdog Fantasy Pick'em. I'm telling you right now, Daytona 500, they've already got them up on Underdog. The finishing positions are all projected now for the Daytona 500. We have but one commandment. Cody, I'll allow you to chime in on the one commandment on a super speedway. It is, of course, to
fade Kyle Larson.
Fade Kyle Larson. I don't care that he's the favorite to win this race. He is set at 7.5 on Underdog. You smash that worse than and break your finger doing it, because I guarantee you right now, you will be happy when it's all said and done. So Kyle Larson worse than 7.5. That will probably be the show's official play when we come back with our Underdog picks for later on. But that is our play for now. Sign up with the promo code RACESGPN to claim your special pick and first-time deposit offer up to $1,000 of bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code RACESGPN. SGPN's proud partner, Rhythm, is the #1 AI-powered sports betting platform that helps provide bettors of all levels the ability to build custom predictive betting models, easy for me to say, in seconds. You can build your own model, copy one of the top performing models from the leaderboard, or you can have Rhythm build a model for you. NFL picks, NFL props, college basketball, NBA. Rhythm has it all. The world told me, Cody, the world told me Saquon Barkley's going to have 6,000-yard rushing in the Super Bowl. Guess what? Dude didn't even break 60, and Rhythm helped me get to the point where I picked under on Saquon Barkley's rushing yards for not just the Super Bowl, but for the championship game as well. And guess what? Rhythm and I were right, while the rest of the world was wrong. So you can have all that fun with Rhythm as well. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM.
Rod, it's time to start making Daytona 500 picks.
Let's go. Yes, it is. All right. So if you're new to the show, Cody and I normally give you about 6 picks a piece. Sometimes
mine's about 10 or 15, but we say 6.
We set up a document. We set up a document before the show, and we each give each other our picks, and we fill the doc. Cody usually fills it more. Like I said, we got to get the magnifying glass to get the font for him. But today, because we feel in a very loving mood, seeing this is our first episode of the 4th season, seeing as though this is the first just kind of brand new start, we're making this a mega episode. We just want you guys to have more than you need. We want to fill your plate so that way when you walk away, you're spilling chips rather than needing more for your dip. So that's what we're doing. We're giving you a ton of picks today. So hang with us. If you're new to the show, I guarantee you they're not all this long, but you'll enjoy the fact that we're giving you all of these. And if you're old hat and been around for a while, well, hopefully you love that we're going to give you a lot more because you begged for it and now you're getting it. So here we are.
That's right. Boji Joe said he's got 3 pencils sharpened already. Yes, if you're new to the show, I do go the old fashioned way. I got paper. I went through 4 pencils to write all my notes down, Rod. So you're going to need notes. We will have the graphic at the end of the day too, where you can grab and copy all of the sheets or all the picks from that. Just to set up betting on super speedways, Rod. Again, if you're new to NASCAR betting, if you're like a NASCAR fan, you're trying to get into this, keep listening this week because it is a ton of fun. But for sure, come back in a couple of weeks when we're at COTA, when we get to Las Vegas, when we get to these more quote unquote normal tracks. Things are a lot more predictable, and it's a lot easier to handicap those types of races. Now, that being said, again, don't tune out yet. That being said, super speedways, which is what we open the season with at Daytona, at Atlanta, are the most fun to bet, in my opinion. I have the most fun on them. You just have to approach them differently. The way that I approach this, you go into these races, literally just about anybody in the field can win this race, Rod. And we've seen it before. There's been a lot of upset winners, a lot of long shot winners, which makes it harder to pick a winner, right? But also means that you could bet on just about anybody, means your longer shots have a good chance at hitting as well. So it is a race where you approach, you put in these bets, just expecting to lose all of the, always in gambling, right? Don't bet more than you can lose. We know that that's the rule, but good to say. But in super speedway betting particularly, just go in expecting to lose all of this. Whatever you hit, that's just, it puts you over the top because you're just not expecting to hit any of these because it is unpredictable. It's crazy. There's going to be the big one or the big two or the big three. There's going to be 15, 20 cars in one wreck. It's going to wipe out half the bets, but it's going to keep alive other bets. If you can just pick drivers that survive at the end of this race and they're there with a shot, that's what you're looking for. And the fun thing about this is that it's not possible to make sure that every guy you pick avoids the crashes, right? The crashes are random, shit happens. But there are guys who are better at avoiding them, who are better at getting to the end of these races. And that is a real thing. It really is. There's certain guys who are just better at this type of racing. And unfortunately, Rod, or maybe fortunately for us, guys who aren't as good at this type of racing. So that's just to kind of set it up and what we're looking at going into betting on Super Speedway these first couple of weeks.
We are. And so Laura even bringing in, even Kyle Larson. No, Laura, you know the answer to that. That is,
well, Rod,
anybody can win except for Kyle Larson. And Cody, like you said,
even Kyle Larson can win.
Cody,
Rod,
stop.
Not very likely.
I will
All
not.
Right.
I will not.
I hate to do this to some of you because it gets some people's panties in a wad. Personally, Rod, I believe that Kyle Larson is the greatest race car driver in the world right now at this current time. I've said this before he made the comments about Max Verstappen. You can go find the video of me and Kramer arguing about it from over a year ago before all that happened. Love Kyle Larson, greatest race car driver in the world, greatest race car driver in NASCAR right now, greatest race car driver in anything you put him in, anywhere, anytime, except Rod at super speedways. He is just not good at super speedways. This is his kryptonite. This is the one place that he cannot seem to figure it out. So we have one betting commandment on this show for all tracks anywhere. And the one commandment, Rod, is fade Kyle Larson because it's made us a lot of money over the years. Look, it doesn't always hit. I try to avoid head-to-heads I do avoid all head-to-heads at super speedways, except for the ones with Kyle Larson. And I've played them so many times and they hit more times than they don't. And that's what you're looking for. Look, it's not a guaranteed thing. Nothing is a guaranteed thing. Can Larson have a good day? Absolutely. Sometimes he does, but more times than not, he doesn't. Roddy has 47 career starts on super speedways in the Cup Series. Two times he's finished inside of the top 5. Both of those were at Talladega. Now, to set that up, when we're looking at super speedways, you've got previous Daytona races, right? That's obviously the most close you're going to get. You can look at Talladega as well. There's some correlation. They do race slightly differently, but if somebody's good at both, you can definitely take that to their advantage. There are some people, Eric Jones, really good at Talladega, not good at Daytona. For whatever reason that is, that's just how it is. And then Atlanta, since 2022, when they did the repave and turned it into a quote-unquote super speedway, races similar, again, different. And so throughout the show, you kind of got to pick and choose. Like some things correlate, some things don't, and that's kind of how we navigated setting all this up. So Kyle Larson, 47 career starts on super speedways in the Cup Series. 2 top 5 finishes out of 47. Not great, I will say. 9 top 10 total, 9 top 10s total. But out of 47 races, it's not a good hitting percentage. He did finish 11th place in last year's Daytona 500, so shout out to him for that. But in 7 of his last 8 Daytona races, 18th place or worse, not very good there. Now, throughout the day, you're going to see Kyle Larson up front. He's going to be leading laps. I think there's a laps led prop for 5.5 or something like that. I would not take the under on that because he looks good throughout these races, and you're going to say to yourself, that guy's an idiot. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Kyle Larson looks like he's doing great. He looks like he's doing fine. And then it's going to come, and it might not be until the last lap. It might not be until overtime, but he cannot avoid the wrecks. He's always in the wrong place at the wrong time. And you talk to some Kyle Larson fans, and they're just so frustrated by it because he looks so good and he does so good until the end when he doesn't. That's what we're betting against here on Kyle Larson. So it's not any hate on Kyle Larson, but the stats say to fade him. There's 2 head-to-heads that I targeted, Rod, that I would like to take. One over on DraftKings. It's Chase Elliott versus Kyle Larson. Elliott's been top 5 in 5 of his last 9 races at Daytona. Again, no career top 5 finishes for Kyle Larson at Daytona ever, right? And if you go head-to-head between all 3 super speedways over the last 16 races, Chase Elliott is 11 for 16 over Kyle Larson. Again, that's not every single time. Obviously, things happen. Elliott could get involved in the same wreck, and Larson's car slides farther, whatever the case is. Elliott's better at getting to the end than Kyle Larson. So I'll take that for the first head-to-head. And then also over on – so actually that one was on Bet365. Apologies. This one's on DraftKings. Kyle Busch over Kyle Larson. Kyle Busch, Rod, is pretty freaking good at super speedways here in the next-gen car. And thanks to our friends over at iFantasy Race, Kyle Busch actually has the best – or he's tied with Bubba Wallace for the best average finish at Daytona in the next-gen car at 9.3. Second place last fall. Now, he was 12th in the 500 last year, so Kyle Larson beat him. Shout out to him there, right? But 7th in the fall of 23. 19th in the 500 in 2023, but he was leading at the end of regulation, lost it in overtime, which can happen, right? 10th place in the fall of 22, 6th place in the 22 500. 7 top 3 finishes here, 13 top 10s, won a fall race before. Kyle Busch, we're going to talk about him more later, but he's been very good. He's beat him at 4 of the last 6 Daytona races and at 4 in a row at Atlanta. I will say Talladega, Larson's actually on the better of Busch multiple times, so we'll give him props for that. Busch did win one a couple years ago there, but in an overall sense, Larson was better there. But at Daytona and Atlanta, which more what I'm looking at for this, Kyle Busch has been a lot better. So, Rod, kick off the Fade Kyle Larson Tour, which is going to be here for 2 weeks, this weekend, next week at Atlanta. When we get to Coda, that will flip and change. We'll be back to Kyle Larson's the greatest driver ever. Give me Chase Elliott over him, -115. Give me Kyle Busch over him, -115.
I would be remiss if I did not continue this party on the Fade Larson train. I had to throw more coal on the fire. A guy that I'm going to be talking about here in a second in a reverse way, but I figured I'd keep the Larson train rolling. Cody just laid out all the stats for you on Kyle Larson, and it's so tough because I know that the early Boji Joe saying, well, why is he the favorite, is because, and it really was brought to my attention I just wasn't even thinking it through, but the books are like, oh yeah, anybody that doesn't know NASCAR sees Kyle Larson's like, I'm going to throw money on Kyle Larson. He's got to win this race, right?
Well,
not so fast. Right?
And when you look week to week, he's the Kyle Larson, spoiler alert, all season, he's going to be the favorite in most places, and it's not going to be anywhere close to this number. So people see it and they're like, oh, that's got to be wrong, right? Or they're more casual fans, they're dirt fans, they're indie fans that have, oh, Kyle Larson, we know him now, right? And the books have to defend themselves. Like, again, all the stuff we say about Kyle Larson, he could win the Daytona 500 this weekend, and if he does win it, I'm going to be happy for him because that he'll have everything. He'll have won the championship, the 500. He'll have all the stuff checked off, right? And I love to see greats do that type of thing. It's just the numbers say more times than not, it doesn't happen. That's why we got to fade him. I
could only imagine if you put him at like 20-1 or 2, whatever, 80-1, and people will be hammering that number down all day long.
I'd bet him at 80-1. And that's why he's not that number, right?
Exactly. And then he does go off and win one on accident. But so I'll toss one more driver over him, and that's Tyler Reddick. Tyler Reddick over Larson, even money over on ESPN Bet. I mean, Cody just laid out the whole case for why Larson is probably not going to win these matchups. But here's the thing. This one's even a tougher one than Elliott and Busch, because I'm going to make a case for Tyler Reddick not being able to beat a couple of other cars in just a second. So I may feel like I'm contradicting myself, but we're also hammering home this fade Kyle Larson train in that his average finish, Tyler Reddick, on this particular track, 24.9. And that's between the 45 and the 8 and even the 31. This dude has only been running at the end of 4 Daytona races. That's just Daytona races, not Daytona 500s, Daytona races in general. I mean, he's crashed out. He's got 7 DNFs on this track, so it's tough. He's only got 2 top 10s. So for everybody that's saying Tyler Reddick is going to have himself a bang-up day, this is where, again, you have to pump the brakes because the name recognition in sports sometimes runs so deep that you just are ready to jump in both feet on a guy that you're like, oh, yeah, this guy's really, really good. But you have to dig in. This isn't like football where, yeah, okay, some players, maybe they don't do quite as well at home. Maybe they only have 100 yards where they're 150 yards. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a little difference here and there between home but I mean, these different track styles eat drivers alive, and there's some drivers that are really good at some and not very good at others. And Tyler Reddick at Daytona, and not even track styles, but just tracks too, that they're just not good at. Daytona, Tyler Reddick, not really good at this particular track. So, but even still, I'm still taking him over Kyle Larson because we know that Kyle Larson is even worse on these tracks. So that should tell you how much we feel about Kyle Larson on super speedways. One of these days, Cody, he's going to jump up and he's going to do it. It may be this one because we're on record as going all over it, but
hey, I'll be happy for, again, like, come at me if you're upset. Like we've told you, I would love to see Kyle Larson win the Daytona 500.
Oh, easily.
The numbers just say to bet against him, and you got to go with the numbers.
Yep. And so again, I mean, it's for me, it's like a kind of a local guy, right? Only a half hour up the road from me in Elk Grove, this guy's from. So it's always been a blast watching him race. So yeah, again, Tyler Reddick over Kyle Larson, even money plus 100 over on ESPN Bet. Now I'm going to take that same sort of argument that I used to say how not good Tyler Reddick is. I'm going to kind of double down on that one, especially even with Bubba Wallace. I'm going to take Childress because Caesars has teams over each other, team matchups. I'm going to take Childress over 23-11 in this instance, minus 110 over on Caesars. I mean, Cody just talked about how good Kyle Busch has been on this particular track, average finish of 18th in his career, but over the last couple of seasons, I mean, especially since driving the 8 car, he's had a 7th place finish and a 2nd place finish at the Daytona. That Daytona 500, not quite as good, but he did have a 6th place finish in the 18 car in his last year there. And then when you look at a guy like Austin Dillon on this track, his average finish 17.6, but he does have a win. And yes, this is probably made Kyle Busch beating both of the 23-11 guys, which is really what I foresee. Because if you look at Dillon's last finishes at Daytona, 33rd, 33rd, 37th, 22nd. So really, this is just Kyle Busch over 23-11. And like I said, I just gave you what Tyler Reddick had done. Bubba Wallace, 11.9 average finish. So this will be a race between, in my opinion, Bubba Wallace and Kyle Busch. Bubba Wallace, 5th and 6th in this race, or in this track, rather. 5th in the Daytona 500 of 2021, 6th in the fall race. But before that, 12th, 20th, 11th. There's some suspect in there, right? He did finish runner-up in 2022 in the 500 there, and then 2nd in the fall of 2021. So, again, Bubba Wallace, pretty damn good on this track, but I still think that Kyle Busch, I mean, we talked about this too in the offseason. We talked about it during the championships. We talked about it during all of the win totals and everything like that. This is a contract year. Cody brought it up. This is a contract year for Kyle Busch. He is driving for his job, essentially. I don't know that they're going to let him go. I don't know who else you can bring in there to be better than Kyle Busch, but he's got a lot to prove this season. And I think it starts with the Daytona 500. I don't know that he'll win it. I want him to win it. In fact, we'll talk about it later. And I'll double down on Cody and something here. But yeah, I think he's going to put together a really solid run. He's not going to try to get himself into trouble. And I think he can finish better than both 23-11 drivers. And hell, Austin Dillon may accidentally do it himself. So give me Childress over 23-11. That's minus 110 over on Caesars. And Tyler Reddick over Kyle Larson, even money at ESPN.
Oh boy, that's a tough one, Rod. I'm just gonna abstain from that last one. I like the Reddick over Larson, obviously. Continue with the trend. You're getting even money, which is even nicer. But yeah, the Childress over 23-11. I got thoughts on drivers from both sides as we continue down the road here. So I'm liking both those teams this week.
All right, where are we going next?
Next up, Rod, we're going to get into tossing some long shot stuff out here. Again, this is the great thing about this is you get long shot stuff that has legit shots of hitting. If I told you Cody Ware could finish in the top 10 at Las Vegas or Kansas or Bristol, I would be lying to you, Rod, because it's just not going to happen, right? But at Daytona, not only can it happen, it does happen quite a bit, right? So the only people better than Cody Ware. So first of all, we're going to start with Cody Ware top. This is a good point to get to too. Shop around, especially in NASCAR betting. When you're betting on the NFL, which we just got done doing, right? If you want Saquon Barkley's rush yards, you're going to get 130 at one book and 130 and a half at another book, and maybe 129 and a half at another one, right? In NASCAR betting, from book to book, the price is drastically different. They shift quicker when they take action, different things. So shop around, which we try to do to give you the best numbers. So if you've got Fanatics, Rod, that's not a book we've brought up very often. They've got pretty good top 10 lines, at least for now, until we probably hit them hard, which hopefully you guys do. Cody Ware plus 550. I do like that number over there. And then if you got Bet365, they've got him for a top 5 at 16-1. Cody Ware, Rod, third place in best average finish in the next gen car. Now, the asterisk to this, he's only got 4 starts. Majority of the drivers have 6, right? There's been 6 next gen races at Daytona, but he's behind only Bubba Wallace and Kyle Busch, who are tied for first. 10.3 is Cody Ware's average finish over 4 races. He was 14th so he did not run the Daytona 500 last year. Actually, he didn't run either of the Daytona races last year because, he had that suspension, that whole deal, another story, but he's back now. So in the Daytona 500 in 2023, he finished in 14th place. Okay, I take that back. He did run in the fall race last year, not the 500. He finished 4th place in the fall race last year, Rod. 14th in the 523, 6th place in the August of 22 race. He did have a 17th in the 522, but Rod, if you're telling me he's just finishing 17th, like he's getting to the end of these, if you're in 17th in the last lap, you can go to 10th really fucking quickly. Chaos happens. Also, Talladega in the fall, 12th place finish by him there. But Cody Ware has been really good, and it's not because he's a great driver. He's probably going to fall back, right? But that's part of the appeal of him. He sort of stays in the back and stays out of trouble. Let the chaos take people out beforehand. You got to love it. And yeah, if you've got Bovada ass checking in, hell yeah. Top 5 is 22-1 and top 10 is plus 750. And everybody should have Bovada because that's available everywhere. So even better, go hit that over there. Cody Ware, Rod, we're not going to talk about him much this season, but this is a place where you can talk about him. He's been really good here. And then also, I'm going to give this one out, but please wait to bet on this until we know Thursday the starting lineup. Anthony Alfredo, he's not guaranteed to make the race. You can check with your book. Some books, they're going to honor it whether he makes the race or not, so you don't really want to get stuck with that. I would just wait. Lines should not shift much until after qualifying. Doesn't matter where you start in this race. Stuff won't shift because of that. But I do like Anthony Alfredo top 10 finish, 8-1 over on Bet365. Mr. Fast Pasta, Rod. 3 starts in the Cup Series here. So, right? 32nd, 26th, 27th. They have him in super great, but he did finish 6th place at Talladega last year, so I like that. He's also been top 12 in 3 of 4 Talladega starts. So if Anthony Alfredo's racing at Talladega, let's circle back and for sure bet on him there, right? But he's been really good at all super speedways in the Xfinity Series. We've talked a lot about him on our Xfinity shows. 7th place at Atlanta last year, 3rd place at Talladega, 4th place at Michigan, which Michigan, not a traditional super speedway, but Xfinity did race the super speedway package there last year, and it was like an Atlanta race. So I'm going to count that for this purposes, of course. But Alfredo, a guy I always love to target. Wait to bet him because we don't know if he's in the race. So let's wait and make sure that he makes the 41 or 40 field. But give me Fast Pasta, top 10 at plus 800.
We always love us some Fast Pasta on this show, and that's the great part about it. Again, like we said, these long shot guys can pretty much just pop out of nowhere, be riding in the right. And really, if you know Daytona, you know that if you pick the right line at the right time, that could be the difference between you finishing in 15th and you finishing in 3rd. Because if that dude juts out and you jut out in front of him, and all of a sudden you're riding around the top line and it starts to pick up momentum at the end of the race, you could be right there in the mix of it all. So yeah, there's a lot to be said about these other guys that are, riding around in the back, and you're going to be like, man, why are these guys? And then all of a sudden, with about 10, 15 laps to go, that third line starts gaining momentum. You're like, oh. And then by the time it's over, you're slamming on tables saying yes, 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 because Fast Pasta just got you a top 10. So
and that's a good thing too. Don't start counting your bets. Don't be like, oh, this guy's been running great all day. It's a lot. Like, nothing is guaranteed in super speedway racing, and things change so fast. If a guy's led 3/4 of the race at a track like Kansas, like, you could start to feel pretty good about a bet or something like that, and things can still happen. But at Daytona, it changes so fast. And if a guy falls 3 or 4 laps down, don't be too upset. That might be the best thing that could happen to him, because he's out of the way, he's out of the pack. Everybody wrecks. There's multiple cautions. All of a sudden, he's back on the lead lap. He was just in 32nd. Now he's in 8th place. It happens that fast. And that's what makes it so much fun to have these bets on these tracks.
Indeed it is. All right, I'm going to save this one for a second. I'm going to start with my top 10 bet. SVG. Top 10 bet for Shane Van Gisbergen, plus 330, plus 350 rather, over on Bet 365. Here's the thing about SVG, right? This year, he is in a much different position than he was last year. I know that we talk a lot about the colleague equipment not being on par, but of course, AJ Allmendinger, as Cody is going to talk about in a little while, is a good super speedway racer. But that's more him than it is the equipment. And I know that most equipment is considered equal here, but SVG starting out this year now in Trackhouse equipment, driving that beautiful number 88. So, I mean, for him, look, in the Xfinity series, he had 2 starts at Daytona. Obviously, last season was his first full season. That very first time out there on a super speedway for him in a Colleague car in that 97, he started 5th and finished 12th. Now, again, it was just a matter of what he didn't know, but he's now got a lot more of the driving under his belt. He knows now that he doesn't have to play very, very nice, right? At this point, he can actually go out and hit people, whereas in his previous ride, he couldn't touch anybody because he'd get fined. But not in this instance. He can move that driver with the bumper, and he's not afraid to do so anymore. Unfortunately, the second time out in Xfinity Series, he got 25th, but learning curve, right? And then Daytona in the fall, he actually ran out there for the number 16 car. He took Allmendinger's place in the Cup ride. Had an engine problem in that one and finished 35th. So didn't really get a whole lot in. He got 80 out of 164 laps. So he ran around about half a race in there. So that was a learning curve for him. But listen, this is one of those drivers where now he's got a year under his belt in NASCAR racing, right? And a lot of times when you're racing in other series, it takes a little bit of time to kind of get your feet wet, because these NASCAR drivers do not drive like any other drivers out there, right? It's not, you can't, in F1, you barely touch somebody, breathe somebody, you like inhale the air around them and they're gone, right? Moto, you can't touch. Like, there's a lot of these rules, but not in NASCAR. And he's learning that now, and he's got a full year under his belt. And I think now with the teammates that he's got, right? Ross Chastain, he's got Daniel Suarez. Now he's in that whole Chevy crew again with those guys. And I just think that for him this year, he's going to do what it takes. He's not going to be flashy. He probably won't end up winning this race, but I'll guarantee you right now that he has learned enough over the last year, especially plate racing or restrictor plate, or however you want to, tampered spacers, or however you want to put it, right? This style of racing, track plate racing, he's got it down. I think he's got what he needs to do to be able to stay in the draft and to be able to just sort of ride it out and have a pretty solid finish. And I think at 3.5 to 1, SVG is a good bet for me. So I'll take SVG top 10. This next one, you won't get any other explanation other than it's Jimmy Johnson. Top 10 finish, plus 550. If you're listening to this show for 5 seconds, you know I am a bleeding heart Jimmy Johnson fan. I've been one since before he won his championships, so you can't call me a bandwagon fan. But yeah, look, I love Jimmy Johnson. And at 5.5 to 1 for him to get in the top 10, I know he hasn't done it since he's started driving that 84. In fact, he's been very tough. He may not even make the race. But come on, Castroneves, let's get Jimmy into the race. But yeah, I mean, look, it's Jimmy Johnson, the greatest that there ever was, there ever will be. I got to think at one of these points, Cody, one of these times he's going to get himself into the top 10, and I want to be there when he does.
Yeah, and like that's the thing is, I'll poke fun at you if you try to bet him at any other track types, but at Daytona, anybody can do it. And if Cody Ware can do it, Jimmy Johnson certainly can do it, right? He's got to make the race. So again, maybe wait until Thursday, make sure he makes the race, and then bet him at that point. But if he does, he is the greatest driver in NASCAR history. We both love that. And the fun thing about this type of racing, Rod, you have a favorite driver you want to go bet on? Go bet on him. We can't tell you not to bet on. If you're a Kyle Larson fan, you can go bet on him. If you're a name the driver fan, go bet on him, because anybody can get it done in this. Obviously we've found the guys that we think can do better, but Jimmy's been pretty fucking good at Daytona in the past, right? Things haven't gone so well for him lately, but he knows how to do it, and certainly he could do it again.
Indeed, he can. All right, Cody, lots to get to. Let's continue down the road.
Let's do so, Rod. Next up for me, hopefully you listened last week, but not everybody did. I get it, right? We tied this bet in with Saquon Barkley over 13.5 receiving yards to bump it up to plus 632. Hopefully you got that, because you sent out a bigger number. But if you didn't, you can still get Ty Dillon. That's right, Rod. We're on the Ty Dillon train. Group H over on Caesars at plus 275. He's matched up against Martin Truex Jr., Daniel Suarez, and Josh Berry. Ty Dillon, Rod, really, really good at super speedways. Finished 11th place here. So he didn't race in the Cup Series last season on super speedways, but did finish 11th place here last time he was on the track, 2023 in the fall race, with an 11th place finish. Now the 23 500, he did have an engine issue that expired. He was in a shitty car, no surprise, right? 40th place. I'm going to completely throw that out of all handicapping, because that, even more than the wrecks, that's more out of your control than anything. If your engine expires, not a lot you can do. Bad car. This is the best ride he's ever had in a colic. Boy, it's a low bar, but it's the best ride he's ever had in a colic car, right? 18th place here in the August of 22 race, but 11th in the 500 that year. 6th place in the 2019 500, and the number 13 Germain Racing Geico car, Rod. Not a good car, but 6th place finish in 2019 here. 2018 in the fall race, in that same 13 car, 6th place finish. Go back to 2020 at Talladega, 3rd place finish for Ty Dillon. He's good at these tracks. If you toss out that 40th place finish that I'm not counting, 13.5 is his average finish in the last 8 races at Daytona. And this is the best car he's had to do it in to this point. And calling cars we've seen be really good at super speedways, with AJ Allmendinger most recently. Justin Haley's been good in them, and then Xfinity Series have been really great. So they know what they're doing over there. And again, car means less here than it does anywhere else. So you got to like that. As far as the people he's matched up against, Daniel Suarez, 40th place here in the fall, 34th in the 500. Not good, right? The last 3 times they've gone head-to-head, he's 0-3 against Ty Dillon. So you love that. Josh Berry, 26th, 25th, 22nd. Those are his 3 career Daytona 500 starts, or Daytona starts, rather. He's not matched up with Ty at any point, but not good finishes. Martin Truex Jr., well, he's in an open car, Rod, not even guaranteed to make the race. If he doesn't make the race, now you only have to beat 2 guys, so that would be pretty good, right? But if he does make it, well, he's not been really great at Daytona either. 24th, 15th, 24th, 15th, sort of a pattern. Maybe he's due for a 15th place finish. But those are his last 4. The last 3 times they've matched up, he's only 1-2 against Dillon head-to-head. So give me Ty Dillon, who, I'm not going to talk about a lot this year, but we will talk about when it comes to super speedways, to win Group H at plus 275 over on Caesars.
I mean, well, yeah, honestly, that is probably the weakest of all of the groups. So I would take me and you over all that group in that one as well. So yes, definitely a good one for me. All right. I'm going to go to a market of which I love that they give us, especially here in the Daytona 500, and that is the manufacturers inside of the top 10. Caesars is giving us Chevys 4.5. That's the number they're giving us for Chevys inside of the top 10 at the end of the race. I'm going to take the over on this one, plus 130 on the over side of it. It's difficult because, I mean, that leaves you with just about more than half. And we know that there's a couple of Fords that can spoil the party. We know that there's some Toyotas that are going to spoil the party. But I will tell you that last year in the Daytona 500, there were 4 Chevys So this would not have cashed last year. It was Byron, it was Bowman, it was LaJoy, and it was Allmendinger, all inside of the top 10. But just outside of that, just right outside of that door, right? There was Larson in 11th. There was Busch in 12th. There was Zane Smith in 13th. And there was Chase Elliott in 14th. That's 4 knocking down the door. And we know that last year, I think it came down to a little bit of strategy as well to get these guys out. And then they all sort of fell back because I think there was pit strategy too that kind of threw off a little bit of something. But I think the Chevys were in line to be able to come closer to having more of them in the top 10 than they ended up getting at the end. 2023 Daytona 500, Ricky Stenhouse won in the 47 Chevy. And then there was Alex Bowman in 5th, AJ Allmendinger in 6th, Daniel Suarez in 7th, Ross Chastain in 9th. That is 5 Chevys inside of the top 10. 2022 Daytona 500, that didn't really pan out for you as well. But the Chevys were right there knocking at the door, right? Elliott in 10th, Dillon in 11th, Hemrick in 12th, and then you had LaJoy in 14th and Buescher in 16th. But, it was the Ford blockade. I think they had team orders to stop everybody.
Oh, that's something to note, too. All 3 you've mentioned, the winner, right? Chevy, Ford, had a lot in the top 10. So, and Chevy's been pretty good at the 500 lately.
Well, and it's like we say,
and
I mean,
super speedways in the next gen car, too.
Yeah. And it's like we say, too, when we're talking about just being able to keep the manufacturer in front, like these guys, they will go together. They will ride together. They will be able to stay locked until about the end. Then they start to break off. But a lot of times you'll see them pit together. You'll see them ride together and help each other out. So, yeah, I mean, this is a matter of if you think Chevy is going to be, and there's more Chevys in the field too. We say that week after week after week. There's obviously a lot more Chevys than there are Fords and Toyotas. So for me, if I'm getting the manufacturer that has the most cars on the track and some of the best drivers out there and guys that I think we are going to be talking about at the end, a la Busch, a la Elliott, a la Byron, a la Bowman, like all the Hendricks guys and RCR guys, and now the Spire guys that could creep up in there as well. I like this over 4.5 Chevys inside of the top 10 at plus 130 over on Caesars.
Yeah, I can't say that I hate it, Rod, for sure.
Good. Well, because if you did, then it wouldn't matter anyway. So, all right, what's next?
Next up for me, I'm going to go over to the top Toyota market. The top any manufacturer market is always a fun one. Didn't really, into my car lifts that are coming up in a minute. That's right, I said lifts. There's multiple friends. Don't worry. I'm going to talk more about it, but Toyota is really the one that I focused on. So if you look at Toyota, Rod, they are the smallest of the manufacturers as far as cars entered into the race. There is only 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. There is 11 now, which is actually more than there has been. Obviously 2311's expanded, but Jimmy Johnson not guaranteed to make the race. Martin Truex Jr. not guaranteed to make the race. Those guys may or may not make it in. Either way, smaller group, but you're getting pretty good numbers. So going over to Caesars actually for both of these numbers, I'm going to pick 2 guys in this group. I'm going to go with Bubba Wallace plus 650. And I'm going to go with John Hunter Nemechek at 25-1. These guys have both been really good here. So you're going against Denny Hamlin, 3-time Daytona 500 winner. Has not been very good in the next-gen car at super speedways. Reddick, you documented earlier. He's gotten a win at Dega, but overall not been great. Christopher Bell's up and down. Briscoe. Ty Gibbs. I like Gibbs. The results haven't always been there for him. So, that's part of what it is. Herbst, I'm actually going to talk more about later. And then Jones has not been good at Daytona either. So give me John Hunter at 25-1. Give me Bubba Wallace at plus 650. You hope that one of these guys beats the other Toyotas. And that's what this bet is. If you're not familiar with this, all they have to do is be the best finishing Toyota, whether that's first place to beat the other Toyotas, whether that's 15th place to beat the other Toyotas, or whether that's 30th place and they still beat all the other Toyotas. Because we've never seen all the Toyotas take each other out all at the same time at a super speedway, have we, Rod? It's happened, right? Bubba Wallace, part of this. Best average finish in the next-gen car, tied with Kyle Busch, 9.3. 2 races last season, 6th and 5th place. Very, very good here. He's been top 11 in 7 of the last 9 races at Daytona. 3 of the last 7 Daytona 500s, he's been in the top 5. 6 of the last 7, he's been in the top 20. That's the consistency I want to see from a guy that I just need to beat the other Toyotas in the field is just get to the end and have a shot to be the best Toyota. Bubba Wallace can do that. John Hunter Nemechek, Rod, he gets clowned on whatever, but he's been really good here. He's got 4 career starts at Daytona. 11th, 11th, 7th in last year's Daytona 500, 15th in the other start. All pretty good, right? You like that. Only 2 starts in this next-gen car, but his average finish, 11.0. Obviously, he finished 11th twice in his 2 starts here in this car, but he's been pretty good as well. So these are the 2 guys I'm going to take. You basically are getting a large group here. Maybe not even all these guys make the race, which for this bet, Chris, you would not mind seeing. Bubba Wallace plus 650, John Hunter Nemechek at 25-1.
Again, really what this does too is just finding the right line at the right time. I mean, anybody can jump up into that line or jump down into that line and block and be carried to the front. So we've seen Bubba do it. We've seen him be able to work the draft to his advantage. And I feel like if anybody can do it, and especially this year, we've seen the improvement. We talked about him a lot in the offseason too, because I think we're both kind of high on his potential this year. And I almost feel like if it doesn't happen this year, then it may be a step backwards. But I mean, again, for Bubba Wallace, he's got Tyler Reddick, who's one of the strongest guys out there. And even if Tyler Reddick's not going to finish this race well, hopefully he'll be a good drafting partner. He's got great guys in Denny Hamlin to help him out. So I'd love to see him do that. And for John Hunter, when's it going to be his turn? When's it going to be Legacy's turn? I need Legacy to kind of, Legacy, you're here. I need you here this season. All right. I now that Jimmy Johnson is fully in control of this team, right? We've kind of ditched the old school and bring in the new school, the real champions. I want to see him do better. So yeah, I'm with you on this one. I like this one a lot. All right. Well, this one is another market that I think is going to be untapped by a lot of folks, but I think it'd be a good, fun one to follow as well. And that's most laps led by any driver. Caesars is giving us this. They've set the number at 47.5. I'm going to take the under on this one. I know that this is kind of tough because a lot of people think that if you're a super speedway, then you're out front and the people are going to follow the leader for a lot of the, no, that's not how this works. The lead change happens so very often and so fast that you don't even realize what's going on. So 47.5 minus 115 over on Caesars. I will say last year, this came close. 45 laps was the most led by Joey Logano. He ended up crashing out. The next best one, 22 by Christopher Bell, and then 16 by Todd Gilliland. So again, 45 was the lead there. 42 in the 2023 Daytona 500 by one Brad Keselowski, Chris Buescher. And when I talk about lead changes going on, 41 lead changes in the 2024 Daytona 500. There were 52 lead changes in the 2023 Daytona 500. Keep in mind, there's only 200 laps in this entire race. So the lead changes just an enormous amount of times. And then even if you want even more mind-blowing stats, number of green flag passes at the Daytona 500 of last year, 11,922 green flag passes. That's 62 or 66.2 green flag passes per lap. In 2023, 11,538 green flag passes. That's 66.3. Whew, that's some mind-boggling numbers. That's how much these guys jockey for position. I will say that 2022 broke the trend. 67 laps led by Brad Keselowski in that one. And then in 2021, the Daytona 500, 98 laps led by Denny Hamlin in that. But I feel like we've seen lately that these guys are not the around the lead, follow the leader on the Daytona tracks is not necessarily the way it used to be. And especially for the 500, because there's a lot more that goes into this for these guys. So I think that we're not going to see a follow the leader type event. I think we're going to see a lot of passing, 11,000 green flag passes. And I think we're going to see quite a few lead changes on this one as well. It's going to be it'll get close. They set the line very well on this one. I think it'll get close, but I think by the end of it, we're going to be just shy of the 47.5 mark to cash this one. So give me, what did I get? Most laps led, trying to read the verbiage on the screen. Most laps led by any driver, because I want people to find the bet. I don't want them to have to search around for it. Yeah. Give me under 47.5 and minus 115.
Yeah, I love this. And really, guys don't want to be leading very long in the Daytona 500 because if you're the car out front and you're burning the most fuel, there's going to be a lot of fuel saving going on throughout this race. You see it every time we come to Super Speedway. You see it in the Indy 500, right? Guys don't necessarily want to win this race more than any other, but you don't want to lead a ton because you want to save some of that fuel. So guys are going to be purposely shifting around and changing the lead or swapping with someone else, and none of that stuff. So yeah, I think that this is a good call by you. We've not seen it a ton lately either, as you highlighted. So yeah, give me the most laps led by any driver under as well.
And that's a good point too, because I really even kind of glossed over that in my entire handicapping, and that these guys are playing soft. It's not like a typical 1.5 mile track where you're like, man, if I give the lead up, I may not see it again for the rest of the race. This, you give the lead up, all you got to do is just catch the next line and pass the guy again. So yeah, absolutely. Right.
And there's going to be plenty of too wide racing where, Rod leads one lap by 3 inches, and then the next time around, I lead the lap by 3 inches. And then, so you're splitting the laps led there. And so, yeah, I do agree that it is going to be
stage splitting, right? I mean, there's going to be getting back up to speed.
Yeah. There's going to be a lot of, if we get to green flag pit stops, you're going to have groups, right? The Toyotas are going to come in. So they're going to give up the lead, and Ford's going to lead for a while. And then when Ford pits, Toyota's going to take the lead back, and Chevy's going to find their way in there somewhere. And so it just all kind of shifts around. So I like that as well. Another one I'm bringing back from last week, Rod. Hopefully you parlayed this with Tails, because Tails was the correct call. Plus 281. You got it if you put them together. But if not, you can still take the race number, the car number of the race winner as odd at plus 100. So even money. This is, like I mentioned last week, I mean, it is just like the coin toss, right? But these types of bets in this type of race are a lot of fun, because coming down as they're racing for the checkered flag, there's going to be odd number cars in the mix. That's what you want to see. That's what you're here for. And this is going to give you a bet that no matter how many cars wreck in this race, there's going to be odd numbered cars in it at the end. And this one I found over on Fanatics as well. Caesars, for some reason, took their number stuff down for a bit. I don't know if that's back up or not, but
it is.
Fanatics, maybe they're sort of pushing themselves into the NASCAR world a little more this year, right? I'd like to see it. So check them out. Odd number cars, I mean, you could go even too if you want to. I mentioned that before, but odd number cars, you're getting a lot of heavy hitters. Corey LaJoie makes the race in the 01. Ross Chastain, Austin Dillon, Kyle Larson. Hey, maybe it happens, right? Justin Haley's in the 7 car now. Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin, Chris Buescher, Chase Briscoe. You get Josh Berry. You get Bubba Wallace. You get Riley Herbst. You get Cole Custer. You get Eric Jones. You get Tyler Reddick. You get Ricky Stenhouse Jr. You get Cody Ware. You get Michael McDowell over at Spire now. You get Carson Hocevar. You get Elio Castroneves. All of those guys are on the odd number. So give me the winning car number at odd at plus 100.
Stealing my car numbers. No, listen, I like it, because again, it's like a coin flip, right? I mean, it's literally just, it's a half and half situation. You got the tails part of it, right? So you're sitting on that part of it. So excited about that. Just want to say hello to Sean Nato. We are so back. Yeah, we are, Sean. Let's go.
So back. Also, JB's comment, very funny. Did someone say fuel saving? Joey Logano enters the room. Wow, he actually led the most laps last year when he should have been saving fuel. See how that works?
Yeah, see, I wish I had the door creaking thing to open.
To your point earlier on the lead changes as well, the third line, TK saying the third line seemed to get going sooner than expected last year. And yeah, if we see that again, then you've got not only 2 lines changing the lead, but that third line keeps coming in there and putting other people in there, snagging a lap or 2 here. That brings down the guy who leads the most number, and that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, no, I love it for sure. Again, it's just a 50-50 type of a situation, and I'm okay with being on that side of the 50. And I'm going to jump in with my winning car, because Caesars did put them back up, by the way. There's a lot of ways to get in, and I wrestled so hard, Cody, because the most lucrative ones on the board for everybody are, there's number bands. If you're new to betting the numbers, there's number bands, and then there's over under on the number of the winning car, and it usually goes in the incremental fashion. But the number bands this time, 0 to 9 plus 170. I was like, meh. And then there's 10 to 19 at plus 450, and I'm thinking, damn, man, that gives me some Hamlin, that gives me some Blaney, that gives me some just all kinds of great guys, right? Up until the point where you get to the 19. Then I was like, but that Hamlin, whatever. Blaney, maybe, but I'll bet him outright, and that'll take care of that, right? So I started making a case against it. Then the 20 to 29, I was like, at plus 500, I thought, man, that's fantastic. And then I looked at who's in and then I was like, Joey Logano, no, thank you. Christopher Bell, not really. And then Zane Smith in the 21, I was like, okay. But then, I started building a case against that. Anyways, I settled on just copping out. I'm going to take under 12.5 at plus 120 over on Caesars. I wanted to give you some really good money bets on this one, but I want to be responsible more than anything. So give me under 12.5 at plus 120 over on Caesars. I mean, look, it gives you some fantastic guys. It gives you Ross Chastain, right? It gives you Corey LaJoie in the 01, stacking those soon to be no longer minted pennies. It gives you Austin Cindric that could accidentally win a super speedway race, as we've seen before. It gives you Austin Dillon, who could be a winner at a track like Daytona.
He's won the 500 before as well.
I'm just saying, it gives you Noah Gragson, who we're high on in that 4 car, to win this race. And if you accidentally mess around and get Kyle Larson to win this race, it gives you him as well. It gives you Brad Keselowski, who we just talked about, has led the most laps in a couple of these races before. It gives you Justin Haley, who we actually don't really mind at super speedways. It gives you Kyle Busch, gives you Chase Elliott, gives you Ty Dillon, who's driving a radio-controlled car, as we've said in the chat. And then it does also give you Denny Hamlin if he messes around and wins. And it does give you Ryan Blaney. So I didn't want to just go on that 10 to 12 route because I wasn't sure about guys like Buescher and Briscoe. But if you want to double down, I guess, on the 10 to 19, you can do that as well. I'm not making an official bet, but now that I'm starting to talk it through a little more, I don't know what I was doing, but the 10 to 19 at plus 450, I guess Blaney, Allmendinger, right? Like if Briscoe, like we said, messes around and wins this one, then that will be fine if AJ messes around and wins it. So yeah, I mean, for me, I'm still sticking to the under 12.5 to win this at plus 120. But if you want to double down on it, there's some fun number band opportunities within that band as well. So yeah, I like 12.5 with Blaney, with accidentally Hamlin and all the other guys underneath. So yeah, give me winning car number under 12.5.
Yeah, hard to argue with that. I mean, you're getting a lot of heavy hitters in that number. So I like it. All right, Rod, a new market this year from our friends over at DraftKings, which is a pretty cool one. Most fastest laps in the race. I really like this market. Of course, NASCAR is now going to award the fastest lap to an extra point throughout the season for each race. But this is for the person who has the most fastest laps. So I was curious, how do we figure this out, Rod, right? So if you go to NASCAR.com, if you go to the specific race, you're looking at the results, you can go over and click on lap results, and then there's fastest laps are in there. So I was looking back at it, and it's crazy. John Nemechek is actually the favorite in this group, which you're like, wait a minute, what? But so the way that this has sort of worked is it's been, and Denny Hamlin actually kind of addressed this a little bit on his podcast as well. But guys that are farther back in the field get bigger runs and end up with more fastest laps on the super speedways than the guys up front. So last year in the 500, AJ Allmendinger led 12. John Nemechek was second at 11. Alfredo at 10. Ross Chastain at 9. Denny Hamlin at 9. Even Travis Pastrana, Rod, had 7 fast laps in that race. Well, I guess that was 2 years ago. But so 2 years ago, Cody Ware, 9, led the most. AJ Allmendinger at 8. Ricky Stenhouse at 8. Ryan Preece at 7. And then Travis Pastrana, as I just mentioned, was the one at 7. So if you notice, like, no Larson's in here. Like, you did get one mention of Denny, but farther down. No Blaney, no Logano. The guys leading all the laps. It's not them. It's farther back in here. And then just to kind of expand on the fall races, too, 2024, it was Stenhouse at 9, Eric Jones at 9, Carson Hocevar at 9, Justin Haley in the 51 car even at 8, Cody Ware had 8. The fall of 23, it was McDowell with 9, Hill had 8, Keselowski had 8, Corey LaJoie actually had 9 in that one too. So all over the place, kind of guys a little farther back. The odds are definitely strange because you don't see John Hunter Nemechek leading many odds groups. But you're getting pretty good big number. You know, we used to get 18 to 1s and 20 to 1s on top 10s at super speedways, Rod. But we beat them too bad so many times that we don't get that anymore. But this is kind of an opportunity for some true dart throws, right? So pick 3 guys, all 18 to 1 or bigger. Going to toss them out there. AJ Allmendinger at 18 to 1. I mentioned his name multiple times. He led them or had the most fastest laps last year, was second 2 years ago. So you like that. I'm going to talk more about him in a bit. 18 to 1 for that. For a guy that was second and first. Okay, I like it, right? Denny Hamlin at 20 to 1. So Denny made this list with 9 last year, but he also talked about how guys might be hanging back, how guys might be trying to get that fastest lap and stuff like that. Denny Hamlin's a guy who does hang back, and you'll see him pull up and out of the way and fall back. So getting him at a bigger number. Also, I think Denny Hamlin, as I would be if I was out there, Rod, likes challenges. And I think that if he can go lay fastest laps, he's going to try to. So I like him at 20 to 1. And then Cody Ware, again, back on the Cody Ware train, 35 to 1, Rod. In the fall, he where was Cody Ware? He was 2 years ago in the Daytona 500. He had the most laps at 9. So you love to see that. And he's been on this list multiple times. The fall of 24, he was in here as well in the most previous race or most recent race that we've had here. So fun little market from DraftKings. This is a new thing. And again, you can follow along on that at NASCAR.com. So AJ at 18 to 1, Denny Hamlin at 20 to 1, Cody Ware 35 to 1.
But let's also keep in mind, too, as you start to build this fastest lap theory, especially on super speedways, the guy out front is not always running the fastest laps. It's usually the guys that are back in the draft that are getting pulled, that are right there in that are running, especially the guys in the very back who don't have really a lot behind them to drag them down. All they're doing is sort of following in the strip sling, which is why we're seeing a lot of these guys who you don't necessarily always.
That's why John Hunter's the favorite, because it is the guys farther back in the pack, and they're getting bigger runs, and they've got more of the energy. So, that's going to be different at Kansas or Las Vegas coming up. It's going to be a guy who's leading that's getting more of the faster laps, right? And this market specifically, but at super speedways, it really is wide open. And, there's, what'd you say, 200 laps in this race, and 12 was the most a couple of years ago, 9 a couple of years ago. So, you don't really have, tons and tons of fastest laps. It's kind of all over the place, but you just need one of these guys to eke it out. And 18 to 1, 20 to 1, 35 to 1. It's a really fun market where you can get in on some long shots and guys that have all been in the mix, and there's good reason to take them. So I love it.
I 100% agree with you, and I love jumping on this market, and I will do the same, and I will go with a couple of guys that I think at 25 to 1 that I really like, and that's Ross Chastain is one of them at 25 to 1. You just talked about it, right? A couple of years ago, 9 was the most of the fastest laps in 2023. Well, Ross Chastain in 2024 had 9 of the fastest laps. He was only 4 laps away from actually being the fastest one or the most fastest laps in the race, right? So at 25 to 1, he was only 4 laps away out of a 200 lap race of being the guy with the most fastest laps. So for me, I mean, look, outside of that, not really much to report about when it comes to Ross Chastain and fastest laps market. But we also know that Ross Chastain is a guy that is, I don't want to call him streaky, but I think last year was sort of a down year for him, and he really, really does need to pick it back up again this year. And for me, now that he's got SVG in the mix, right, that's another teammate to be able to hopefully hook up to in this race. Having that 88, having that 99, having both of those teammates to be able to kind of stay around. Is it going to make a gigantic difference? Probably not, but that's still one more car, right? That's still one more teammate that'll duck down with you when you're trying to go down and hang around. So again, for Ross Chastain, 25 to 1 on a guy that a couple of years ago would have had the most fastest laps if it weren't for the 12 laps that Joey Logano or that AJ Allmendinger led rather, or the fastest laps that AJ Allmendinger had last year. So I like that one at 25 to 1. And then look, it's Kyle Busch, right? Kyle Busch, 7 fastest laps in the 2024 Daytona 500. And then he really didn't do all that well. He had 5 fastest laps in the 2023 Daytona 500, 5 in the 2022 Daytona 500. So, I mean, he's consistently hanging around there with about 5 or 6. And look, if we think that he's going to take a step up, I know that Kyle doesn't like to lead a lot of laps in Daytona. He's not a guy that likes to be out front much, because when you're out front Daytona, you're the most vulnerable that you'll ever be, because all you need to do is have a couple of cars hook up behind you and slip around. You want to be the guy that's able to make that run at the end, not the guy that's getting caught. So he's smart enough to do that. So I think he's going to be running in a position where he can have a few more fast laps. Like you said, I don't want to beat this contract year. I feel like, Cody, I've done myself a disservice, because now I've gotten this contract year in my head. So you're going to hear me say that all year long, and you're going to be like,
real thing, Rod.
Oh, shut up about the contract year. And I'll be
You
like,
think that he doesn't know Rick Hendrick is watching what he does this year, and he's got that 48 ink just sitting over there waiting for Kyle Busch to come back?
can you put
could see
Kyle
it.
Larson in the 48 and put Busch back in the 5?
It
That'd be
would
simple.
feel proper for Kyle to be back in the 5.
Right? I would think that. It's just all you got to do is just swap out the last name, right? You just cross out Larson and put
Yeah,
Busch.
you already got all the Kyle stuff. It's great.
It's that simple. But
Bring
yeah,
Kellogg's back too while we're at it.
Oh, that would be awesome as well. All right. So to get back to the bets, Ross Chastain, most fastest laps, 25-1. Kyle Busch, most fastest laps, 25-1 as well, over on DK.
Like it? All right, Rod.
Oh, wait, Cody.
Oh,
I want to do something for you real
Let's do
quick.
something for me.
All
Okay.
right, let's do something. Here we go. Because this is the first year that I'm going to do this for you.
Oh boy. I don't even know what this is, so I'm excited.
It is time, friends, for wait, what do you got coming up next?
Well, Rod, it's car lift time.
That's a lot of time for the listeners.
Let's fucking go. Oh my God, I love it.
Cody's
car lift. Here we go, Rod. Car lift, if you don't know, it's like a ladder in any other sport. You ride a ladder in football, you ride a ladder in basketball. Over here, we do car lifts. I don't have one car lift for you, Rod. I have 2 car lifts for you. But the first car lift, the main car lift, is AJ Allmendinger. Oh my God, Rod, I love AJ Allmendinger so much this week. He is the guy that I am big time on. We're going to ride the car lift on AJ Allmendinger. Top 10. You go over to Fanatics, you still get him a plus 250. I love that. Hopefully, Rod, again, you listened last week. You parred that with Devonta Smith over receiving yards and got it at plus 416. But even if you didn't, that's okay. Get it at plus 250, top 10. Then we're going to take his top 5. Fanatics, again, good line, plus 760. Hit it. Top 3, 16-1 over on Caesars is the best place I found for that. Also on Caesars, you can get him to be the top finishing Chevrolet, 25-1. And over on FanDuel, Rod, 60-1. We're taking the car lift all the way to the top for AJ Allmendinger. But wait, Cody, this isn't a road course. What are we doing? That's right, AJ Allmendinger. Not just a road course ace, a super speedway ace. Last year in the Daytona 500, 6th place finish. 2 years ago in the Daytona 500, 6th place finish. His most recent 500 start, he had a few years in the Xfinity Series, other things, was back in 2018, 10th place in that one, 3rd place in 2017. That is 4 Daytona 500 starts in a row, all inside of the top 10. In the 3rd place back in 2017, that would have been in a JTG car. So he can get it done. You love to see that. Go back to July of 2018, 3rd place finish there, 8th place in July of 2017, 13th in July of 2016. You love all of those. 6 of his last 7 at Daytona. He's been inside of the top 10. 6 of the last 7, plus 250 for the top 10 number alone. Decent at Talladega, not as good as Daytona, I will say that. 3rd place at Atlanta in the July race. AJ Allmendinger, good super speedway driver. Also, very good in the Xfinity side of things in super speedways. Taking that car lift all the way, top 10, top 5, top 3, top Chevy, 60-1 to win. Absolutely in love with AJ Allmendinger. AJ Allmendinger, Rod, my favorite driver to bet on in this Daytona 500. Really, really feeling AJ Allmendinger. And then, Rod, because I can't leave him out, because if you've listened to this show for any period of time, you know how much I love Corey LaJoie. Asterisk. he has to make the race. Don't place these bets until after Thursday when he stacks some pennies, gets the 0-1 car in. That's right. The Corey LaJoie picture lives. The beautiful hair. Give me the Corey LaJoie car lift as well, Rod. He is top 10 plus 255, top 5, 11-1, top finishing forward 30-1, 80-1 to win. Corey LaJoie, 4th place last year in the Daytona 500. Rod, you know how much money we made off Corey LaJoie last year? Oh, it was beautiful. 34th place in the fall. Hey, that's how it goes, right? You win some, you lose some. Sometimes you get caught up in it. Previous finishes to that, so his last 11 finishes: 4th, 34th, 10th, 16th, 30th, 14th, 16th, 9th, 21st, 8th, 6th place. He's been very good. He has a 4th, a 5th at Atlanta. And then, Rod, before anybody knew how good he was, but we knew, we had him 250-1 to win at Atlanta. Was leading with 2 laps to go. Unfortunately, didn't win, but very good there as well. 4th place at Talladega a couple of seasons ago in 2023 as well. Corey LaJoie, if he can make the race again, he's got to make the race, right? But and if you don't really know how this works, or you're like, well, he might not even make the race, but you're betting him to win the race. If you can get in this race, Rod, with the pack racing, with how everything is, you can absolutely win the race. You know, he's more talented of a super speedway guy than a lot of other people, so I get it. But those guys are in, right? Because they're in charter cars. He's not. It's the whole part of it. But don't worry about it. If he makes it, you bet it. If he doesn't, obviously, you're not going to get the opportunity, and that will be sad. But he's going to stack those pennies. He's going to make the Daytona 500, and we're going to ride the car lift with him and AJ Allmendinger.
Did you like it, Cody?
Oh,
I wanted to surprise you with it.
You did. I had no idea anything was coming. And that was absolutely fucking great. So shout out to you, Rod. It was beautiful. Again, this is why you got to watch on YouTube. I know you got to look at my face, but you see Rod's beautiful face, and you get to see the fun, cool stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, if for nothing else, like, I know that I will never disparage anybody from listening to just a podcast as a podcast, because I do the same thing every damn day, right? I very rarely watch anything on YouTube, but for those of you who would like to check it out, it's always a fun watch. And this year, like I said, it's good to know, Cody, that after 579 episodes, I can still surprise you, right? At this point, we were just talking about it. It's 4 seasons. Feels like a marriage at this point. It's good to know that I can still surprise you with flowers after a long day of work.
After all this time, I love you just as much as episode 1, Rod.
Cody, my love for you has grown even more. So, all right, we've just lost a ton of listeners, but that's all right. All right. I'm going to go with one of the other new markets, and that is the average speed of the race. I don't know if it's new. I know I've seen it before, but always they seem to bust it out for the bigger races, just like this one. So average speed of the race, Caesars has this set at 146.5. You know, it's funny. It's contrary to popular opinion on a super speedway. You would think that these guys are going super, super fast, but you also got to remember average speed counts in caution laps. And there's a ton of cautions on super speedways. And it also counts a lot of these other laps that you're running, especially after stage breaks. Those caution laps take forever as well. Or these phantom cautions where we run 15 laps under caution. You're like, why the hell did we just run 20 miles under caution? Whatever, right? Race officials are terrorists, as Cody says. But yeah, so there were the average speed of last year's Daytona 500. I'll tell you right now, there were 157.178. There were only 5 cautions in last year's race. It's such a weird one. That's kind of out of the ordinary. There's 8 cautions in 2023. This is where I'm starting. I think when you do statistics, right, and you see a pattern, and then there's one that kind of juts out, this is the one that you throw out because it's called an outlier. This is me teaching you guys. Here we go. It's an outlier. I think last year was sort of an outlier because if you look at the years before that, 145.283 in 2023. If you look at the 2022 Daytona 500, 142.295. If you look at the 2021 Daytona 500, it was 144. So the streak of under the 147 mark continues. And when you look at the top speed, right? I mean, it's just, you think to yourself, how can you get the average speed of that small? But again, like I said, it counts all of the caution laps. It counts all of the laps that you run that aren't necessarily under green. So for me, I'm going to say that last year was an outlier, and I'm going to take the under on 147.5 and just expect this to be because again, we haven't really talked about this a whole lot in this episode, but if you go back and listen to all of our off-season stuff, there's so many new guys and so many new places. There's guys that are in completely different manufacturers. Chase Briscoe, right? I mean, these guys have not worked with these other guys yet, so I'm expecting to see at least 6 or 7, if not 8 cautions in this race as people just try to figure out the equipment that they're in, right? So and if the Clash says anything to you about how aggressive these guys are going to race in the 2025 season, we're in for a hell of a ride here in the Daytona 500. So give me the average speed of the race under 147.5. I'm sorry, 146.5 miles per hour. I'd still take it at 147. I don't care. At minus 105 over on Caesars.
Yeah, I think TK has a good point here in the chat too. Maybe the field was more conservative last year due to the R word again. We're not saying that word on this show. Last year. But yeah, I mean, Monday races are generally just calmer. Like you get all built up for Sunday, all the everything's built up, and here we go. And then when you get an extra day, like there's almost something to like, oh, let's just get this in and get it over with. And it's Monday races seem to be more calm. Please don't let us have a Monday race this year, Rod. Let's have it on Sunday. Pretty, please. But yeah, I think that's a good point and could be why last year went over this number. But I people were chippy at the Clash. There's a lot of new drivers and new teams. You highlighted that. Like I feel like we are in for, there's been a lot of super speedway races lately where they really don't start wrecking till the end. I think we're going to get some early stuff. People are antsy. People are trying to make moves, and it's going to cause some disaster early. It's going to cause more cautions. That's going to help the long shot bets. It's also going to help more caution laps and this bet hit as well.
I agree. All right. Well, then it is time. Can you hour and 41 minutes? Cody, this is by far, I think, our longest episode ever. But
yes. Planned this way. So thanks for hanging with us. But look, this is our biggest episode every year. A lot of people are tuning in. We do keep it to around an hour the rest of the season, and we'll probably the rest of the week here. But thanks for sticking with us. We appreciate it. This is the Daytona 500, so we're going to take the extra time and cover everything because there's a lot of different, there's more opportunities on things that you don't get every other week and stuff. So we love it. All right, Rod, break out the shotgun because I'm taking the shotgun unit approach. You take a unit, you can split it up between these people however you want to. But here's the thing. The more drivers you can get in at longer shots, the more fun it is, the more skin you have in the game. And we've seen long shots win recently. Ricky Stenhouse, Michael McDowell, Austin Hendrick. All those guys were long shots when they won, and that's, 3 of the last 4 or 5 winners right there. So long shot guys win this race. Sometimes more favorites win like Byron did last year. That happens as well. So spreading it all out here, right? I'm going to have AJ Allmendinger at 60-1. Already mentioned him. Going to have Corey LaJoie at 80-1 if he makes the race. Already mentioned him. Then Rod, Kyle Busch, 14-1 over on BetMGM. Much bigger number than most places. Go over there and get that. Chase Elliott, also MGM, 18-1. Way shorter a lot of other places. You love that. Go over to FanDuel for Bubba Wallace, 28-1. Way too big of a number for him. Alex Bowman, does he cash our over half a race win in the first week of the season? This is the type of race an Alex Bowman wins, Rod. 30-1 over on BetMGM. Riley Herbst, he's a rookie, but he's got some experience. 66-1 over on Caesars. Justin Haley, 65-1. John Hunter Nemechek, 80-1 over on ESPN. These are all the guys I'm taking out, right? I'll try to sort of go through them here quickly, Rod. But Kyle Busch, love him. Look, there once was a guy, a really, really great race car driver, won a bunch of championships, raced for Richard Childress. Many would argue the greatest race car driver to ever live. Definitely probably the coolest race car driver to ever live. It took him a long time to win the Daytona 500, Rod. But after 20 years of trying, 20 years of frustration, Dale Earnhardt finally got it done. Guess what? It's 20 years of trying. It's 20 years of frustration. Does Kyle Busch get it done? I think that he can. Best, tied with Bubba Wallace for best average finish at Daytona in the next gen. 9.3 average finish. 2nd, 12th, 7th, 19th, and 23. But he was leading at the end of regulation, Rod. I had a bet on him that day. I wish he would have won. 10th in the fall of 22. 6th in the 22 500. So he has been in it each and every time in the next gen era in the car. 7 top 3 finishes here. 13 top 10s. He's won a fall race before. He just won at Talladega in 23, second there in 22. Atlanta, third place finish, but only by inches, right, in that 3-wide finish. 4 top 10s in a row at Atlanta as well. Chase Elliott, 16 of the last 22 super speedway races, he's been inside the top 15. Talk about a guy being there at the end to give you a shot. Now, he does have a 38th and 36th place finish in 2 of the last 4 here at Daytona. Those are outliers, right? Things like that happen. That's part of the game. He's won twice at Talladega. He's won at Atlanta as well. He's been second twice at Daytona, including the 2021 Daytona 500. 12 top 5 finishes here. Bubba Wallace, hopefully, Rod, you parlayed him with the Eagles money line like I gave out last week, and you got him at 49-1. But if you didn't, so I'll get over to FanDuel and take this number. Again, tied with Kyle Busch, best average finish here. 6th place in both races last season. 4 top 5 finishes, or 4 top 10 finishes, rather, in the last 6 here. He was 5th in the 500 last year, 6th in the fall, 2nd place twice in the Daytona 500, 2018, 2022, 5 top 5 finishes at Talladega, or at Daytona, and he's won at Talladega before. Riley Herbst, Bubba Wallace's teammate, could be working together, could be working with Denny Hamlin as well. He's a rookie, but he does have 5 super speedway starts. His first career start, 10th place finish in the 2023 Daytona 500. That was in the Rick Ware 15 car. 23-11-35 car, going to be a lot better. Couple down finishes, but had a 9th place finish at Talladega as well. Xfinity, he's been very good. 4th and 6th place at Daytona last year. Top 6 in 4 of the last 6 in Xfinity at Daytona. Won the Indianapolis race. Again, another super speedway package race last year in Xfinity. 2nd place and 3rd place at Talladega last year. Riley Herbst knows how to get it done in good equipment. He's going to have good people to work with. Justin Haley, Rod, 7th at Talladega last year. That was his only start in the number 7 car. That's what he's driving now. He won at Daytona 2019. Massive asterisk on that. That was mostly because he didn't pit. They then called the race. But we'll give him credit, right? 3 top 12 finishes and 6 starts at Atlanta. He's won 2 Xfinity races at Daytona back-to-back in 20 and 21. 6 top 10 finishes in 10 Xfinity Series starts. Also won twice at Talladega in 2022. 5 for 5 in the top 8 there. Very good plate racer. John Nemechek brought him up earlier. 4 Daytona starts. 11th, 11th, 7th, 15th. There at the end, that's what you're looking for. 2 8th place finishes in 4 Talladega starts. 2nd place in Xfinity Daytona here in 2023 as well. That was a lot, Rod, but that's all my winners.
And again, on a week-to-week basis, we don't have nearly as many. But this is Super Speedway, and this is where we give out all of the folks. Yeah, this is where anybody can end up winning, and it's just fun to be able to speculate on all of the folks that will end up winning this race. I mean, a lot of people weren't on Ricky Stenhouse Jr. when he ended up winning, but you know what do you got to do? You got to give him out, because that could very well end up being the guy that wins the race. So, all right, I'm going to give out my winners. Not nearly as extensive of a list. It is funny because Cody said he would negotiate the release of some of the long shots to me if I felt the need to have some, where I was like, no, I'm good. You know me. I don't
okay,
like
Rod. I wasn't going to actually give any of them up. I don't negotiate with terrorists. Or wait a minute.
No, listen, Saturday, I want all of my long shot picks released, or all hell will break loose. But no, listen, Ryan Blaney will be one of my winning picks, 13-1 over on Caesars. Again, this is not so much for what Ryan Blaney has done in the past. This is what I certainly hope he can do in the future. He's crashed out of the last 3 Daytona races, including the fall and the spring. It's been quite horrendous for him, but he does have a fall win on this track. He is also looking for a Daytona 500 win. And I think, you think about the season that he had last year, would love to come out and actually have a Daytona 500 win under his belt, because you want to talk about with Kyle Larson searching for those trophies. Ryan Blaney, that's one of the things that's missing from his elusive or his extensive trophy cases. So I got to give the nod to Ryan Blaney here, 13-1 on Caesars. But I'm with you on Kyle Busch. That's the one that I kind of back you on the most, because I feel like for Kyle Busch, this has been his white rabbit. He needs to chase this down and get it before his career is over. Which, by the way, if you don't know already, I retire people very early in their career. So, yeah, give me Ryan Blaney 13-1, and then 150-1 for the greatest driver of all time in the world, Jimmy Johnson. I'm going to take him over on ESPN. Look, there's other places where he's not even close to this. So ESPN has no faith in Jimmy Johnson, and that's fine. I don't really have a lot of faith in him either. But look, if you toss a buck down and you win 150, that's steak dinner, my friends, if Jimmy Johnson crosses the finish line. And think about how much more you'd make, too, if you put more than a buck down on Jimmy Johnson to win. So, yeah, give me Jimmy Johnson 150-1 to win this race as well.
Oh, what a story that would be, Rod. What a fucking story. I'd love
That'd
to
be
see
a bedtime story I tell my kids for years and years to come. And then
yeah,
your college education is based on Jimmy Johnson winning the Daytona 500 in 2025, kids.
So when you see that story about Better that has a $1,000 bet on Jimmy Johnson later this week, it's Rod using the kids' college fund. So hopefully that works out for him. But to your Ryan Blaney point too, it's been some struggles here lately, but very good at Talladega. He's won there multiple times. Atlanta, he was involved in that 3-wide finish last year, just so close to winning there. And yeah, obviously he's won at Daytona before too. So I like that pick as well. And look, the Ryan Blaney Complete Respect Tour has begun the season already, and we're giving it to him.
We sure as hell are. That class shows that he is fighting and fighting hard. He's swinging at everybody who said that he's not a worthy enough driver for all the accolades he's getting. So, all right. We have reached that point in the show, ladies and gentlemen. Get out your pen and paper. Or in fact, get out your pencils and papers.
I'm
you're
getting
going to need
beer for this.
I tell you what, if you have an inkwell, dip your quill in that because you're going to need that. It is time to go over the bets. And guess what? For the first time this year, it's time for the graphic. Take a screenshot if you're on YouTube. That way you don't need to worry about writing it all down. But I suggest you do it because it's a lot more fun that way. Cody started you out with Chase Elliott over Kyle Larson, our number one rule of fading Kyle Larson at super speedways at -115. He also gave you a Kyle Busch over Kyle Larson in the Battle of the Kyles at -115. I said that you can also take Tyler Reddick over Kyle Larson at +100. Then I said that I would take Chevy. I would take, actually not Chevy. I would take Childress over 2311. Man, my graphics already wrong. Childress over 2311 at -110. I spent so much time on Cody's car lift that I just forgot that one. So, yeah, give me Childress over 2311 at -110. Cody then gave you the Cody Ware top 10 at +550 and a top 5 at 16-1. I said that Jimmy Johnson would be in the top 10 at +550, as would SVG at +350. Cody gave you Anthony Alfredo as a top 10 car at 8-1. I said that there would be at least 5 Chevys in the top 10 at +130. Cody said Ty Dillon would win Group H over there on Caesars over Truex, Suarez, and Barry and Ty. And then I gave you the most laps led by any driver at under 47.5, -115. Cody said that Bubba Wallace would be the top Toyota at +650, or John Hunter Nemechek would be the top Toyota at 25-1. I said the winning car number would be under 12.5. Cody then said that the winning car number would be odd at +100. I said that Ross Chastain would have the fastest laps at 25-1, or Kyle Busch at 25-1 as well. Cody gave you AJ Allmendinger at 18-1 to have the fastest lap. Denny Hamlin at 20-1, and Cody Ware at 35-1 to have the fastest laps. He also sent you on the AJ Allmendinger car lift, top 10 at +250, top 5 at +760, top 3 at +1600, top Chevy at +2500, and to win the race at 60-1. I said the average speed of this race would be under 146.5 at -105. And then Cody gave you Kyle Busch at 14-1, Chase Elliott 18-1, Alex Bowman at 30-1, Bubba Wallace at 28-1, Riley Herbst at 66-1, Justin Haley at 65-1, Nemechek at 80-1 to win the race. I said Blaney at 13-1, and Johnson at 15-1 would be the winner of the Daytona 500 2025 edition. Cody, our first actual graphic of the year.
My goal was to make that font as small as humanly possible, Rod, and I think I accomplished it. Thank you.
I was going to go page 3 with just your outrights, but I thought, nope, he's going to love the tiny, tiny font more than he's going to love a page 3.
Again, a lot of bets, right? Take it under advisement. Ones you like, whatever. You don't have to bet them all. I'll probably bet all of mine. But go into this expecting to lose it all. Anything you win is just it's extra. And this week, next week, these are weeks to have a lot of fun. Just placing small bets, get warmed up. Don't blow your whole bankroll on the Daytona 500. That is a horrible, horrible idea. Save it. We got Coda in 2 weeks. That's going to be a more normal, quote unquote, predictable track, right? Be able to talk some more. So, yes. Shout out to the chat, Rod. Just beautiful. You guys are all great, wonderful. We appreciate all the interaction. We've had the United States checking in, even Iowa, gross. We've had Canada checking in. We've had Ash from across the pond checking in. TK and Nico from down under checking in. The whole world's tuning into the NASCAR Gambling Podcast. The whole world's ready for the Daytona 500. Let's fucking go.
I love all of you guys. I always have loved all of the listeners, and the fact that you guys have stuck around with us for 2 hours just proves, one, that you guys are troopers, and two, that we talk too damn much. But we love what we do, and we always have. 4 seasons, Cody, we have been at the helm of this show. I am looking forward to this season just as much as I was the rest of them, and
even more so.
Even more. Yeah, we hope that you guys have enjoyed the new stuff, the new twists and turns that we've added to the show, because again, we do it for you. We wanted to freshen things up a little bit. It's been almost 600 episodes. We feel like the 4th season was a good time for a change. And I know that as podcast listeners, sometimes when things change on your favorite podcast, you're like, you move the couch. But hopefully you guys don't feel like you hate us for moving the couch, and that you ride with us for the rest of the season. And if you're brand new to the show, and if you've lasted this long, welcome to the family. Please join the Discord so you can continue to talk to us and have some fun with us.
Yeah, if it's your first time listening and you're still listening right now, then congratulations. Welcome to the family. We're glad to have you. sg.pn/Discord. You can join the Discord over there. The conversation keeps going. Rod and I are always over there talking, along with a shit ton of other people. And then on race days, live bets, the chat's going crazy. It's hard to keep up with, which is great. So make sure you do that. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. That helps us out a ton. We keep rising those numbers. That's great. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Daytona. Go get entered. It's a free Daytona 500 contest. Rod, you never know. You might enter the free SGPN squares and win $1,000, because I fucking did last week. Let's go. It's free. Go enter it. Why would you not? And yeah, let's have some fun. We'll be back tomorrow. Truck and Xfinity outrights are out, Rod. So if we can get the rest of the props on those, we'll be back with that. If not, it'll be DK and Underdog fantasy picks, and then Trucks and Xfinity to finish out the week. But either way, those are our other 2 shows, and I hope to continue to see you guys going forward.
We love it. All right. Well, then, to everybody that stuck around, thank you. And we will go ahead and send you off on your way to start filling out those cards. Again, just a one reminder, you don't have to bet them all. I know there's going to be a lot of people, you guys give out way too many picks. I don't know that there is such a thing, but you don't have to bet them all.
That's the great part about it. We gave you a reason why we like them. If you like the reason, bet it. If you don't. That's how it goes.
You don't walk into a restaurant and go, there's too many choices on this menu. I don't want that many choices. No, you just pick the ones you want and you go with it, right? So
never enough food, Rod.
Never enough. All right, Cody. Well, then let's send everybody on their way. And in the meantime, tell everybody where they can find you in the outside world.
Yeah, follow me over on the X, Rod, at Husker_Z. Tons and tons of content over there. I don't just do NASCAR, F1, IndyCar, arena football, NFL draft stuff coming out, Super Bowl futures articles out, basketball stuff coming out next week. Let's fucking go. I do a little bit of everything. So make sure you follow me over there. Follow the show as well at NASCAR Gambling. Follow us on Facebook. See you guys tomorrow.
Follow me on Twitter at RJ Villagomez. Link in the bottom. Everything I've got going on, which is probably equally as much. I got stuff here. I got stuff in between media. The Back Road, 2 shows this week. I'll be on one of them probably tomorrow night after qualifying, and we'll talk to Seth and Elliot about all of our favorite Daytona bets. And then, of course, there's that other site that I've got going on, that I've got darts, I've got esports, I've got I had a really damn good day in handball as well. So lots of stuff over there. So find that all at RJ Villagomez. Like Cody said, we'll see you tomorrow with more of either Trucks and Xfinity or the DK and Underdog part of it also. Love you all. Thanks for joining us for this mega episode for the Daytona 500.
Buggity. Let's go race.
Let's go and amen. We'll see you next time. Until then, let's go racing and let it ride.
So you'll see yourself.